Hi, I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week. My partner, Kristen Oaks-White, is on assignment this week. What a difference a year makes. This time last year, Louisiana sugarcane farmers were slogging through some wet, sloppy conditions when they began to harvest. This year, the dry weather we've had has been very helpful. As TWILA's Neil Melancon shows us, what they're seeing so far is even sweeter this year.
It's a common sight on the road these days. Trucks hauling sugarcane are all across South Louisiana right now. These trucks are going to the Cora, Texas sugar mill in Plaquemines, which has a cooperative agreement among nearly 50 producers to serve 50,000 acres in the area. It's an agreement that benefits both the growers and the mill, according to Cora, Texas COO Charlie Schudmack.
By having it all in a group, we're able to move trucks around if one breaks in some place. We can coordinate all that a lot better than having each farm have its individual trucks.
The trucks here are not only driving, they're doing a lot of waiting. The mill's 3 bays are working to capacity to bring the sugar in where it gets dumped into the warehouse. One reason all the sugar is piling up is because of the weather. Schudmack says, like most of us, he hopes it cools down soon, but as long as it's dry, it's good for the harvest.
We had a very wet season last year, so it's great to start in the dry weather. We don't have to deal with all the mud that we had to deal with last year. The cane's a lot sweeter, a lot more sugar. Could use some cool weather, but we'd rather it hot and dry than cold and wet.
One of the growers delivering to Cora, Texas is Patrick Frischhertz. He says the crop is about 10% less in tonnage this year, but about 10% sweeter, which means it's about an average crop. One thing he's seeing is damage from late season rains last year that are hampering this year's crop.
Due to the wet harvest of last year and then the wet spring this year, we had trouble cultivating, basically fixing the mess that we made last year, and that's causing some slight yield reduction this year. But because we've had good weather this summer and this fall, I'm expecting and hoping for an average to slightly above average crop maybe.
Frischhertz says despite all the challenges, he loves this sugarcane harvest. One interesting thing is that before he was a farmer, he was a lawyer with no ag background. But every day he's out here, he says, is another day in paradise.
Well, I love farming because you're working with people, you're working with the land. I joked with family and I say it's a clean living, and that every day I go home and I feel good about what we've done. We've been able to accomplish something, and overall it's just very enjoyable working with people.
Sugarcane harvest normally runs through December, and last year it was the middle of January before it wrapped up for most folks. Good weather like this can significantly bump up the timeline, but there's still a lot left in the season. And of course, Avery, who knows what that weather will bring. That's just a long time. It's unprecedented for almost every single crop. The Florida guys, of course, as we've talked about, have a longer one, but it's still sugarcane. But man, I mean, that's just a long time to let your crop sit out in the field and wonder, how it's going to be.
How much cold weather we're going to get, how much rain. But I was watching something on 60 Minutes where they talked about the biggest issue this year overall with farming is weather.
Right.
And so, I mean, when you look across the country, at least this is some good news for a change.
It is, and sugarcane is one of the few success stories we're seeing in farming right now. Not only price is pretty good, but for everything, as you heard in that story, it's about 10% more sugar this year than last.
Well, let's hope that shows for sweet rewards next year as well. Thank you, Neil Melancon.